The Minnesota State Senate Expedition is a prime example of how an authentic audience can improve the quality of work. Algebra 1 teacher Tom Totushek explains this expedition with the Senate.
So the students in the Algebra 1 class have been studying the question, does the Minnesota state budget reflect the values of the state of Minnesota? And they've been doing data analysis and that sort of thing. And as an expeditionary learning school, EL Education, they just changed the name, the idea is to present their findings to an authentic audience. And there's no more authentic audience than the Senate policymakers and representatives that the students have invited personally.
In addition to the authentic audience, this project also provided the opportunity for student choice. Students identified their own topics.
Air quality and asthma, so like how bad air quality is affecting asthma and how many people in Minnesota are affected by asthma and air quality.
I mean, dirty lakes, no one's gonna like that. We don't want our 10,000 lakes to become 1,000 or 2,000 clean lakes.
We were doing research on the cost of corrections versus the cost of education. With more money for schools and universities, then the more chance for students to have options for different kinds of learning, just stuff like that, basically.
So we're comparing education and homeless rates, the relationship between the two in Minnesota.
That Minnesota could actually save as much as $107 million a year just by upping the graduation rate among males by 5 percentage points.
According to their teacher, students that participated in this project often found success that they may not have been used to in a more traditional classroom setting. The availability of choice, along with the prospect of presenting to an authentic audience, provided an opportunity for students who have not considered themselves strong test takers or particularly strong in math. Principal Gundale spoke to a few of these groups about their work and the process for the assignment.
Here with 8th grade algebra students that will discuss their expedition to the Senate this year. And with me I have Treasure, Jacob, and Isabella, 3 8th graders that spent quite a bit of time researching a topic to answer the question, how does our state budget reflect the values of Minnesotans?
So our project compares the amount the state budget spends on education and juvenile arrest rates.
As you can see, as the school funding amounts go up, the crime rates go down.
The blue is the juvenile arrests, and then the red is the amount spent on education.
One thing we found said that for every dollar invested in early education, the state can save up to $16 in the future.
It's amazing. So 16 to 1 ratio. That's great. Yeah. So let's first of all introduce ourselves, starting at the end.
I'm Sai.
I'm Jones.
I'm Hazel.
And I'm Guadalupe.
Good. So we had a topic in 8th grade algebra class. So can someone tell us what that topic was?
We did the amount of student debt, or the average amount people are in debt, compared to the amount the state is spending on higher education.
Purple is average student debt, and the light blue is higher education spending. And what we found is that the average student debt has almost doubled.
If people have too much student debt, they can drop out of college and not receive their degree, which shortens their job, which gives them less job options, or they will graduate and they'll have way too much debt.
So tell me, when you talked to the policymakers at the Capitol, what did you tell them, and how did they respond?
So we told them about how the average student debt is rising, and how if they put more spending into it, it would likely curb the problem, and they seem to agree with that statement.
So I have a few questions for each of you. And so Jacob, I'll start with you. So how did you first feel when the expedition was proposed?
I felt really nervous because I don't like talking in front of people a lot. It just makes me nervous, sweaty and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so when it was proposed that we were going to have to talk in front of senators and all those people, I was really not excited about that.
Mm-hmm. I was excited about being able to talk about something that I cared about, but I was definitely nervous about actually creating the project.
So why did you choose the topic that you did, Hazel?
My group definitely wanted to do something with education, We first looked at third grade reading and reading levels, but first we didn't know what we'd compare with that. And second, it didn't seem like people were actually like bad at reading and that kind of thing. And then we went to student debt, where there's definitely a lot of, and there's definitely a crisis with that.
What about you, Jacob? How'd you choose your topic?
Well, originally we were going to compare the amount spent on education to grades, but we couldn't find any good data on grades. So we thought maybe we could compare it to something else, and then juvenile arrest came to mind, and we thought it was an interesting subject.
Do you find a time over the last, say, 20 years where the spending, there was like a key point where spending was at a certain level and juvenile arrests were at a low level that like made it super efficient?
Yeah, around the 2000s, there was a spike in the amount spent on education, and that's when the juvenile arrests were at their lowest.
How did you feel as you were heading over to the Senate building?
Well, at that time, I was a bit excited to talk in front of the senators, but I was still nervous. But I did feel confident that I could do it.
I didn't know if I was ready. I thought I was ready. I knew what I could talk about, and I knew I had done all the work, but it was still a lot of, like, am I actually ready to talk to people?
Yeah, especially our leaders in our state,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay, last question I have for you is, looking forward, what do you think you learned about the world and yourself as a result of doing this project?
I definitely can be put into a lot of stress at times, but usually that can turn out well. And I learned about something that I didn't really think about before, because I didn't really think college is so far away.
I learned that if I have a challenge, I can complete it, even if I don't think I can. I can eventually.
Yeah.
And I learned, during my project, I learned that apparently 30,000 arrests is considered low for juvenile crimes. So
Surprised you, huh?
yeah, and that's in Minnesota, so
Just Minnesota alone.
yeah.
So you take that nationally, that's a big number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I'm so glad that you enjoyed the project and learned so much from it.
A project that requires students to select reliable data from an entire internet's worth of possibility, that fosters real inquiry into a compelling topic and then asks students to apply their learning through an authentic performance task. It expertly combines the tasks that will be crucial to be successful in a 21st century economy. As seen in the recorded presentations and student interviews, presenters were able to clearly articulate their process and reflect on their learning, both about their topics and about themselves as learners. As instructors adapt to a changing educational landscape, one with increasing pressure to leverage technology and encourage authentic curiosity, this Minnesota State Senate project is a model to look to when designing meaningful project-based learning assessments.